Philadelphia sports fans, I am Anthony Pinto.
And I'm Keith Malashevsky.
And welcome to the War Room. We are War Room Philly. How is everyone doing out there in Chatland? Keith, how are you doing there in Quarantine Station?
I'm pretty good. I'm feeling pretty emotional, I guess. I'm our new emotes that I know this is a little old news to you, considering you've already had a show with Greg on Monday there.
Oh, no.
Uh, but
Don't bury the lead, though. This is the first show with the emotes, Keith.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Look at that.
yes.
So yeah, then I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it a lot.
The
now
title
at this point, that's
the title for last week's or for Monday was emotes are coming. With the title today is emotes are live. And honestly, I thought we'd only get one, and we got all of our emotes. So it's really cool to see. We can spam them in chat. In fact, I can spam them in chat, I should say. I can get all three of them. So there they are. They're out there in chat. Shout out to Jeff, our buddy, Brotherly Love United. Again, just on top of things. And Keith, I don't know about you, but I pictured this and I was like, man, our logo is gonna look so sick in our team's colors. And then I see it, and I'm like, "Oh, damn! It's even sicker than I thought." And I think part of that is just on Jeff's behalf too. What up, Murph? Keith. I gotta move my monitor. I gotta bring you closer to me. I gotta move you.
I mean, I understand why you would want to be closer.
Flex alert here. I got the third monitor as I posted on our site, and I've probably snapped you and everything. So I got you on my big 27-inch monitor in the background, Keith. And it's gonna it does this great thing too, because it sort of makes me at least fake looking at the camera, I think. So that's good. It's good. It's helping me create better habits. But yeah, like I saw Murph in chat. What up, Murph? We're hanging out. We're getting ready to start the show as the show is actually started. But yeah, how's everyone doing out there? Hope everyone's staying safe. Keith, especially yourself out there in the workforce. Look, I pack it, you ship it is kind of the what's going on right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
So yeah.
Teamwork. It's just teamwork.
Yeah, exactly. We're a team on and off the ice. And hopefully once everything is safe and sound, we'll be talking about our teams on the ice, on the court, on the field, on the everything. But we got a question immediately from chat, by the way. Hey, so I have a question about the Eagles. Whenever you guys get there, it has to do with how they stack up against the Cowboys as far as the division goes. I'll wait until you get into it. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks, Murph. I appreciate you waiting and let us hanging into the things too. But yeah, we're gonna get in. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into all of the picks. Greg and I did a little thing Monday, but now we're gonna do Keith and I. I'm just as curious to get Keith's opinion on everything too. So yeah, here we are. And it's like I said, it's nice to just it's nice to double dip, Keith. We used to do that back in the day, right? The 2 shows a week, the Tuesdays and Thursdays, back when we were hardworking college kids. Yeah, and then shoot, I almost said shit. Not that it would have mattered, but shit. We
say what you just did. So.
I was thinking about Radio Bucks and thought, oh, I can't curse, but I was gonna say we even did 3 days, or I mean, you did a lot, but I would do.
I did 5.
I did 5.
I
was gonna say I did Tuesday and Thursday for War Room Philly, and then Wednesday mornings were the morning show, and that was the best middle of the week of my life. I'm not gonna lie. It made weekends feel like they were almost 4 days long. It was great. But yeah, the radio. Shout out to the Radio Bucks days and Ben Woodring and I think Nick Macy holding it down nowadays. Yeah. So shout out to those guys. Look, this show is better because of our experience at Radio Bucks. If I can just get a little side garbage in right off the bat.
I would agree.
Yeah. I mean, heck, I think the fact that we can do things like this is partially the experience that we got there. But I digress. Keith, you got anything fun and interesting before we get into it?
Life is always fun and interesting. I've been on a video game tear because of my situation.
Oh,
So
that's what I like to hear. Let's go, gamers.
yeah, I actually, because I'm a huge nerd and I like 100%ing things, I just beat Arkham Knight on, I think it's like Nightmare Knigh, like 100% complete on that, and now I've moved into kind of a more relaxed feel because that's a very heavy game. I moved into Kingdom Hearts 3 because I got it for like $10, so why not?
Yeah, there you go. Kingdom
That's
Hearts.
a throwback.
That's a game that I watch the speed runs to all the time and never understand anything that's going on the screen. Does that translate to how players do it too?
A little bit. I mean, it's meant for like a younger crowd of like it really is. So it can be a little button mashy at times, and it can be easy. Like I'm on like the second hardest difficulty, and I'm really not struggling at all.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not like super easy, or I'm not saying it's not have some challenge, but it's just like one of those games that you can really just get into. If you like Disney, you like, Square Enix, all that, Final Fantasy type feel, you're gonna enjoy the game just because it's cinematically, it's a lot of fun to watch. You see those Disney characters, so it's good. And I got Spider-Man waiting in the wings for me too, that I got to get into at a certain point.
Yeah, I just won the NBA championship with the Sixers and
I did
against
see
the
that.
Lakers. Swept them in four. In fact, swept the entire playoffs. Not a loss in it. 16-0, no problem.
Not surprised at all.
But yeah, it was hard to get. I made a fatal mistake. I decided like, oh, I want to get a sports game for the Switch. Then I remembered that like Switch is kind of my girlfriend's system. The PC is kind of mine. Animal Crossing comes out, and it's been kind of hard for me to get the Switch. Shout out to Jay Ziggy, our one and only subscriber as to date. But yeah, we just it's I'm not complaining because I got plenty of other games. Valorant has been hot. That's been the game I've been playing. So yeah, it's Valorant is like a cross, Keith, between Overwatch and Counter Strike.
Okay.
And I kind of like both of those games, kind of. Actually, I hate both of them with like a vehement passion, but I find myself playing at least Counter Strike for thousands of hours. Overwatch is a little bit different. But yeah, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into it. We got some Eagles talk. Pretty much the crux of the show, unless you got any aces in your hole, Keith, or I mean, in your sleeve. I don't know what's in your hole. The views of Anthony Pinto. We need to get that.
I missed that button.
I'm gonna have to get that. I know Ben's got it. I'm gonna have to get it from him. But yeah, unless you got anything that I might have missed, I know there's a lot of talk about the potential like to push resume on sports, and my feeling is, at least my feeling, again, don't let me rule everything. I feel like, well, especially with right now, there's so much more to talk about. I would say we can talk about that more when the time comes.
I do have something in that vein of things.
Yeah, what you got for me?
So there's a rumor floating around about baseball's restart. And I don't know if you heard this, but supposedly on the restart, they have a way that they have thought about this, where they could keep the teams in their stadiums. Not that Arizona Southern League.
Oh, you know what? That's right. I did hear something about this today. The three divisions, is it?
The 3 divisions, 10 teams, 3 divisions. There's no AL, no NL. That's what it would come down to. It would be teams that are close to each other to limit traveling, to limit intermingling until the playoff time is kind of how you would do it. And that way the team and the players could stay in their own dwellings, I think this is my own assumption at this point, why they were thinking this. Because there was players who did not want to leave their families for 4 or 5 months, and this would kind of be able to circumvent that. Now, my own personal feelings on that matter are, Well, nothing's going to be normal this year. So, hey, you know what? If it gets us baseball and it gets the players what they want, all right, I can think about it. I can get on board with that. But that means we will most likely end up in a division with the Yankees, just out of proximity. That's what that probably means for us. So we'll end up in that kind of a situation where we're, I assume it would probably be Baltimore. You'd have DC. You'd have Yankees. You would have Mets. I can't really maybe the Pirates would end up in the division, but they might be more of a
Yeah, Pirates. From what I heard, Pirates too. My brother Vinny in chat says Phillies versus Red Sox, baby. Yeah, Red Sox could potentially be in that northeastern corridor
I don't
division
know
or
who else
whatever.
they would really be with, so they
Uh,
would be with us.
look,
That would be the situation, yeah.
here's like my TLDR. Here's like my Spark Notes version. I want baseball back as soon as possible. I want sports back just as bad as everyone else. But if we're still struggling to get nurses, doctors, people who are on the front line, immediate testing, and yet these players, because of the money, are getting it over our essentials, I'm going to be pissed.
I think
Um,
that's where a lot of us are at.
as someone like postal service workers, people like that, like our heroes need to be treated as such, so that we can go on and idolize our fake heroes and the Mike Trouts. You know what I mean? Like, because Mike Trout isn't a hero. He's a great baseball player. We all look up to him. But like right now, I think if anything, we've all acknowledged who the real heroes of this society are. So in my opinion, or I would just say we as soon, if all this can start working out, that's great. But we have to make sure we're taking care of the essentials first, and then we can worry about sports, and then we can start on with everything else. Because I get it, I understand what sports is for not only the economy but for everyone's mental sanity. Forget the
Yeah,
economy. Forget like let's just talk our own mental well
it's an
being.
escape.
Like we
An
could
escape.
use that. We can really use that.
Absolutely.
As much as I love The Office, it's getting a little. I like having. I've been telling people my Counter Strike knowledge is top tier right now as far as like
Yeah.
analyzing the scene, because I have no sports and there's so much room in this big dumb brain for me to just suck in things. And yeah, so like right now I've been like I'm on top of the Counter Strike team, the Counter Strike scene. So if anybody needs to throw any shekels down, just hit me up. I'll see what I can do for you.
And ultimately, I'm with you. I mean, that's the NFL and ticket providers there. They haven't released the season because they don't know if there's going to be a season or if it's going to start on time. And if the NFL is considering pushing things back, if that's the cards they have in their hands, I don't think any other sports team in the world has the right to think that it is possible to have a season. Because I'll be honest, yeah, I would love to have a summer playoff for the NHL. I would love to have a summer playoff for basketball, and go ahead and start up the next season Christmas time and have a shortened season then, and have that kind of situation going. I would love that. I absolutely would. But cooler minds, smarter minds have to prevail in this situation. So ultimately, that's why we had our little bit of a reprieve in the NFL draft this past weekend, and I think that's probably what we're going to see for the foreseeable future as far as sports go.
Yeah, I mean, could you
Maybe golf,
imagine?
but
Could you imagine? Yeah, no, golf. I think golf actually is the one thing that I'm like, yeah, bring golf back, because
well, yeah, why
they're
not?
all
Because
walking. You know what I mean? Like,
it's
so
outside.
yeah, I could get behind that a little bit. No spectators. That's a sport that you wouldn't lose it because granted, and I've actually been to a major for golf live. It gets loud, especially for those putts. But for the most part, the you're very urged to be as quiet as possible. So I don't think golf would lose too much from a spectator sport. But like Could you imagine the NHL playoffs, Keith? The greatest sports spectacle with no fans. I'll
Crazy.
tell you what though, Keith, it's the best way to assure the Flyers win a Stanley Cup is that you have social distancing going on and the Flyers will win a cup and then we can't all party with each other.
Yeah, we can't go to the parade. We can't do any of that. That would pretty much be our fate.
I gotta be honest though, Keith.
I take it.
I was gonna say I have said I would do much dirtier things for the Stanley Cup. And
that means I gotta sit in my house, watch a live stream of the parade of them going down an empty Broad Street.
Yeah.
All right, I'm in.
We can at least hold the parade off for some time, but and this would 100% happen in most cities if they start sports, even while this whole social distancing thing is still continuing. When a team inevitably wins a championship, there's going to be partying in the streets, and that's
the dangerous part.
That's a nerve-wracking thought, and hopefully by that time we're out of it. And that's all I'm asking is like, as much as I want sports, let's not start off COVID-20.
Anthony, I think you're being selfish. You have to think about the chicken wings, man. The chicken wings need to be sold.
Hey, you can still buy chicken wings and eat them in your lonesome. I do it quite often.
Is your favorite sauce on your chicken wings your tears?
Oh yeah, they're so good. Not spicy either.
Salty,
don't upset the stomach. But I had a thought and it's gone, so it's fine.
That's usually how it goes with you. Yeah.
I started reading chat. There's a lot of baseball talk in chat right now, and some golf chat.
Oh, it went away. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we do. I have to get into Murphy's question when we get into some Eagles talk. And in fact, we could even get into that a little bit now. Get back into the light stuff of things. So let's do that. From Philly Murph, aka the Murph. One of our old OG co-hosts back in the day too. Says he's got a question about the Eagles. Murph. Now is the time to get that question in, unless
yes.
But you were talking about question about where they stack up with the Cowboys, and if that's your question, we can talk about that. In fact, we will now. But if you have a more specific question, Murph. Here it looks as my worry is how do we stop what we should really good Cowboys offense? What should be a really good Cowboys offense? How do we stop that? The Eagles' biggest problem on D last year was big plays. Absolutely agree. And offensively, we had inevitably a low number of plays over an unbelievably low number of plays under 20 yards. Did we do enough by adding Slay? And are we going to better at stretching the field? As much as I hate to say it, the Cowboys should be a legit offense. Yeah, Keith, kind of agree with you there, or not Keith. Keith, I agree with you too. Murph, we were talking about this, Greg and I, on Monday. The Cowboys are good, and for every time I start to try to justify certain picks on the Eagles draft board, I look at the Cowboys got CeeDee Lamb, and the Cowboys got some good players, and they were your competition last year. So yeah, right now the Eagles need to worry about the Cowboys, and then they can think about the NFC, in my opinion. What about you, Keith?
Yeah, I understand where everybody's coming from, because Murph is not the only one feeling this way. And I'm not saying I feel 100% confident that we're going to beat them both games. I still feel like the Eagles did enough this offseason defensively that we should be able to make a disruption on their offensive side. You have to remember that our defensive line at this point, we're looking here at Barnett, hopefully will be healthy and will be able to make an impact. Brandon Graham, hopefully will be able to make an impact like he usually does. Your defensive line is 3 defensive tackles deep. I mean, with Hargrave, with Jackson and with Cox, you have a very stout interior that's going to be able to get pressure. So yes, they do have those defensive or those offensive weapons, excuse me, that are going to be worrisome. And CD Lamb with, of course, everybody they had last year. It's not like they've lost anything on offense. So there is an issue there, but I feel with those additions on our defensive line and what we had last year with adding Darius Slay, I feel like that even with the loss of Malcolm Jenkins, we still be able to hold our own. And I'll be honest, it's going to be tough to be worse on offense this year than we were last year because I don't know if you remember anybody that was on that field other than Nelson Aguilar against the Cowboys. Because let's be real, it was Greg Ward, Nelson Aguilar, Arthega Whiteside, and then pick a guy off the street. You know, that was it. So
I got tape right up right now of Quez Watkins, the 6th round pick, ran the fastest 40 in this year's draft, out of this year's draft class. When you're talking about stretching the field, I do think that that's the one thing that the Eagles really focused on this draft and did well. I think they went out and got a slew of speedy wide receivers, 4 of them when you include Goodwin. I like Hightower. I like Quez. I even like the Reagor pick. Again, my only complaint with Reagor was that you could have probably got another 2nd round pick at 21 or a 3rd round pick, and you could have you could have reassessed those picks, probably gotten somebody else at 1, probably got Reagor high at 2, and probably got Jalen Hurts at 3. And that, then I even start to, I still don't like the Hurts pick, but I would like it a lot more as a 3rd round pick, because again, as much as I like Jalen Hurts the player, I don't like spending a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a backup. And we'll get more into that a little bit.
We'll get into that.
But
no, I love what we've done speed wise because again, I like Jalen Reagor, the player. I like Hightower. I like Quez Watkins, Marquise Goodwin. Like you said, they're all fast players. They're all at the top of the 40 times at the draft as far as whether it was a pro day because Reagor ran a 4.22 and a 4.28 at the pro days. And then obviously he had a disappointing combine of 4.47, but he dropped weight after that to do his pro day, and that's when he ran faster. I like everything about that. I like the fact that the linebacker Taylor is even fast. I like that. We really put a focus on speed on this draft, and that was apparent. So I think that our offense will be better equipped this year. I think that our offense, even if you don't have a healthy Deshaun Jackson and you don't have a healthy Alshon Jeffrey, I think you still will have some weapons. I mean, they cast a wide net, Anthony. They cast a very wide net. Maybe not in the rounds we wanted to, but 4 wide receivers that they got there. Somebody's got to pan out at this. You know what I mean? Like percentages just go in there and say that somebody's got to pan out. So you're going to have somebody that makes an impact this year.
Yeah, I agree. I would have been more locked in on being like, well, what if we just had Reagor and Mims 1 and 2? To me, then you're like, oh, you got them and all those guys that you mentioned, and then maybe you have one of either Hightower and Quez Watkins, because I like both of them, but chances are with the way Howie's been picking, one of them are going to be a bust, if not both, if I can really be sour for a sec. But I like I said, from right now, I like the picks. I like the speed. When you look at them on tape, they pop. We were watching Quez Watkins. I have all of them. We can, throughout the show, we'll put more people up as we're talking about them. But yeah, when you're talking about specifically to Murph's question and analysis, that yeah, I do. I think that they at least added something to stretch the field this year. Hopefully these guys pan out. We'll never, we don't know yet. from Vinny in chat. They need to let Carson roll out of the pocket more. This year, movement all around from the whole offense. I think just the tools that you look. You even saw it when Greg Ward got into the fold, right? You saw some reverses try to get into the mix, things like that. So I think that, again, just retreading what I was saying, the speed in general should help that. I think regular is really going to help in that sense, where you're going to be able to give him the ball in certain situations, in creative situations, reverses, screens. If there was one thing that Andy Reid's offense was known for that we really haven't seen in Doug Peterson's, it's the utilization of the screen game. And we've seen it in drips and drabs, but we haven't seen it where they take over a game.
Well, I think a part of that issue was the fact that we didn't have anybody stretching the field. Mm-hmm. You can't really be throwing something close to the line of scrimmage when everybody's loaded in the box. That I'm not saying that they should have done what they did, because they definitely should have mixed it in a little bit more. But I think now that we'll have Deshaun Jackson, we'll have Jalen Reagor, we'll have players like that are going to stretch the field, I think we're going to be able to include the screen game a little bit more. It's also going to be able to open up our middle of the field for a Zach Ertz, for Dallas Goedert. So I think having those deep threat type players, I think that's going to really significantly boost our offense. And as Murph was asking, do we have enough on defense? I think Slay versus Amari Cooper is going to be very valuable, because he's already proven that he could shut down Amari Cooper. Having Maddox as your number 2 corner, or Cravon LeBlanc as your number 2 corner, one of those guys, I think they can handle CeeDee Lamb. I know that's a stretch because he's supposed to be as good as he is, but he's a rookie. So you might have that experience factor that might be able to help out. I just feel like we'll be able to compete with him. I'm not saying that we're automatically going to shut down the Cowboys. I'm not saying we're going to trounce all over them, as much as I like to, being that Philadelphia fan that I am. But I think we can hold our own with them. That's how I feel. I feel like, despite the fact that I can't believe I'm going to say this, Dallas had a great draft. I feel like we can keep in step with them, and it's just going to be a great divisional battle.
Yeah, I think that if the Eagles aren't better than the Cowboys this year, Howie needs to be fired.
Yeah, I could see why you say that. I can absolutely see why you say I don't think that happens. But
this team has taken has taken steps back since the Super Bowl. And if now the Cowboys are the better team, that's another step back. That also means you didn't win the division. That also means you didn't go far in the playoffs. You cannot win the division and still make a Super Bowl run. That washes things off the table. I don't care how you get to and or win the Super Bowl, just do it. Again, this draft should have been surrounding your quarterback, with your franchise quarterback, with all of the possible tools that he needs. And your second and third round picks, in my opinion, we're not good. I didn't like the Colorado running back. Obviously, it's too early to tell. And I really didn't like
linebacker.
I like
linebacker.
What did I say? Cornerback.
You said running back.
Running back. Yeah, I would have liked a running back. I would have really liked a running. That's why I got running back on the head. Corey Clement just got signed too, right before the show. 1-year deal.
I saw your comment where you called him the Roman Quinn of the Eagles.
Yeah, because everybody loves him for no reason. But I mean, I guess in Clement's sense, like I even gave him credit in the comment. Look, Clement came up big in the Super Bowl, so I'll never diss him for that.
He's a South Jersey boy, so that's the attachment there. He's
root for him.
And he helped
I root for him, but I'll pull it up. There are so many running backs out there. Devonta Freeman comes to my mind. I don't know why I keep referring to my mind as head. Comes to my mind. But yeah, it comes to head. What else comes to head? I like so. Yeah, as far as as far as this, I'm going to get back in the chat here. I agree because teams are just jamming us up, daring us to try to go deep. Yeah. I think I was back towards your comments earlier, Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as any teams go, yeah, it was. I mean, Wentz had to do it all. You saw it. I mean, look. Everyone was on all over him once he finally turned it around. Everyone was lauding him. This is what we wanted. Carson started off a little slow last year, as did the entire offense. But it really he turned back into MVP form towards the end of the year. And in my opinion, a dirty hit on Jadeveon Clowney doesn't mean that you draft a second round quarterback and start a controversy.
Yeah, so before I dive right into that, so I actually kind of like the third round pick. It's risky. It's very risky. So I'll give you that. But I do like the overall talent. He's just the speed, the athleticism, that linebacker safety hybrid is something that has started to happen more in the NFL. So I do like that direction. It is risky though, and it could really blow up in his face. I like rounds 4 through 7. I like what they did.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
Which is kind of sad that's what makes a good draft, and how he actually said, that was the day that really nailed it down for us, which is, I mean, he's really putting his chips in on that late round stuff because he needs something to pan out there. Although I will say this, I like what he did, and I think he's going to have a couple of hits out of that late round. I actually really like that tackle that he ended up taking, the Prince, the name is escaped. There, Prince Tega Wanogo.
Bless you.
I like, yeah, exactly. I really like that 6th round pick, and I like the fact Jack Driscoll, both of them from Auburn. I think one of them is going to pan out in a guard position for us. I think that's very important. But like you said,
we're watching some tape right now of your linebacker, Keith.
I think he has great athleticism. I think he could turn out to be something very, very good. I think he could be a very solid starter in the NFL. Here's my hesitation. He hasn't played very much. That's what it comes down to. He has very little experience. So that's the scary part for me on it. Not necessarily the tangibles. He has the tangibles. The intangible part. Will his experience hold up? Will he be able to learn enough in the NFL? Will he be able to make an impact with his 3rd round pick? Those first 3 picks, generally you look to be impact makers in that first year, which is why we keep talking about how that number 2 pick really irks us.
Yeah.
That pick number 53, Jalen Hurts, does irk us. And before I get into this, yes, I am upset because I would have liked some more weapons. But I did a little bit of digging because you know me, I can't sit on things. I need to figure out reasoning, and I had this desire to look at the Patriots, and I found our comparison of the Patriots as to when this happened, and that'd be 2014, I believe it was, with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's our best case comparison. Everybody was looking for Tom Brady to do something. Well, give Tom Brady something. They had a pretty good defense with Vince Wilfork and the like that were on that team. But their offense, and I can bring it up here on my phone, I ended up looking this up. Their offense was nothing to sniff at. They ended up having, obviously they had Gronk and Edelman, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong. And that, you could say Zach Ertz is something very nice for us. You might be able to argue Sanders might be something nice for us. But other than that, Brandon LaFell was their next wide receiver after that, and I could not name another wide receiver from that team after that. That's your comparable. And for me, I don't know if that's the kind of comparison I want to have with the Patriots, that on a draft they decided to spend a 2nd round pick on a quarterback that's going to be a project that they eventually later trade away for a 2nd round pick because they're not going to keep him.
Yeah.
And I hate to keep harping on this, but like Denzel Mims was there. There was a slew of running backs that you could have picked there. You could have traded up with one of your later picks to possibly get that safety that ended up going to the Giants. That was a possibility.
I mean,
even if you
knowing what we know now, wouldn't you just rather have traded that 2nd round pick and gotten CeeDee Lamb?
You would have had to, and this is kind of, I feel like this is what happened. I don't think Atlanta would have traded that pick for anything except for maybe an outrageous trade, like a first-round pick next year, which I'm not a fan of. That's just me, and I may be alone in that. But the spot that you kind of got screwed on was the fact that Isaiah Simmons fell to the Cardinals because he was supposed to go that early. Then.
Keith, we just saw a Philly special. We just saw Jalen Hurts catch the Philly special. Now we know why he was taken. Now we know. By the way, Jay Ziggy, beautiful emotes you're dropping there. And if anybody else wants some, just go ahead and slam down that subscribe button.
If you've got Amazon Prime, you should be using your subscribe on us.
Yeah, again, if you have Amazon Prime, you have you're giving Bezos money that you could be giving Keith and I for free. So all you got to do is link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. It's super simple. Just Google it. It's really easy to do. I think even Jamie on her Facebook.com/WarRoomPhilly put like a little screenshot tutorial on how to do it. So really super easy. So yeah, everyone go ahead and get on that. Get the Amazon Prime sub train going. Yeah.
I will say this though.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Keith, because I saw the Philly special and everything went off.
Well, it's worth saying. I can say this though. I can like the player because I like Jalen Reagor. I like Jalen Hurts. I like both players. I think they will be NFL starters. I can dislike the picks. I can dislike where they were taken, what we did. I know a lot of people were like, oh, I wanted Jefferson. I, for one, did not want Jefferson, so I am okay with that.
I see Nelson Aguilar with Jefferson, and it bothers me that we agree on it because there could have been some really good arguments.
I know.
But yeah,
I know.
When I see Jefferson, I see a guy that's got outside speed, air quotes, outside speed, but he's a slot wide receiver.
Well, he clocks well is what it ends up coming down to, which is exactly what Nelson Aguilar did.
Yeah.
Nelson Aguilar, granted, he competed in the Pac-12, which is a little bit different than playing in the SEC. I get that. I still didn't see Justin Jefferson as more than a slot receiver, and that's what a lot of people have been saying, which is kind of weird that the Vikings were like, oh, slam down, I'm taking him, because that's where Adam Thielen plays.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. We'll see how that plays out, but then again, they have Kirk Cousins and think he's a starting quarterback, so we digress on that, I guess, but I am okay with them as players. Jalen Hurts, I'm upset that he was our second-round pick, and I understand that. Yes, you valued him. Yes, he probably would not have been there by your third-round pick. I don't really care. I think you deserved to treat Carson better than that. And I understand that it takes one freak play for Jalen Hurts to come in. I get that. But he's a project. So I don't know if I necessarily want him playing right away. I know this is going to be unpopular too. Nate Sudfeld, or I don't know, maybe Jameis Winston, who was signed by the Saints for, what was it, $1.2 million or something like that?
1.1, I think I saw. If it's 1.2, I'll split the difference.
And he's talking about a Harvard education that he's going to get with Sean Payton and the Saints.
A quarterback factory.
I was about to say, that is a quarterback factory.
That's a quarterback. This isn't a quarterback factory. Those words are the most untrue words since we are the gold standard.
Which one hurts you more?
The gold standard.
I would agree.
You saying you're the gold standard of the NFL when you haven't won a Super Bowl is the most asinine statement in sports. Only to be followed by we're a quarterback factory, and you're not, because the only quarterback that you have factoried since Doug Peterson has got here is Carson Wentz, and you're doing everything you can to destroy this kid.
I mean, he pretty much lifted the worst receiver group we've had since his rookie year to the playoffs, which is impressive in itself. We had Jackson for a game. We had Alshon Jeffrey for basically a game. And then you had nobodies the rest of the year. So you owed it to Carson Wentz to do more. And maybe you could argue they did do more. But here's what I'm thinking. You could have gone out there. You could have traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Wouldn't you love to trade for DeAndre Hopkins? Wouldn't you love to give him Carson Wentz, Stephon Diggs? Wouldn't you just love to give him something like that?
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Because you had to think about that again.
You know, I mean, you're 100% right.
Like,
yes,
why
yes,
would
I would have even just like CeeDee Lamb.
Look, draft aside, they had opportunities. If you decided that you didn't want to do that in the draft, that you didn't want to give up draft picks to get somebody that was a stud, there were opportunities. I mean, you might have had to give up draft picks, but you might not have had to give them up this year, or maybe you wouldn't have to give up the ones you didn't want to give up. That's where I'm at. You might have been able to go and give them Miles Sanders and a fifth-round pick like they did with David Johnson to get DeAndre Hopkins. And don't get me wrong, I love me Boobie Sanders. I love him. He's a fantastic player. I think he can have a great career. But ultimately, if you're telling me I can get a franchise wide receiver to go with my franchise quarterback, I'm absolutely doing that. And I'm absolutely not going to draft a quarterback in the second round with the intention of, well, we need a backup. Get out of here. Because, by the way, I looked that up too. I did a lot of research. I looked at a lot of screenshots here, and I wish I had given you this before, so you could have thrown this one up here. But the missed starts that Carson Wentz has had over the years, he played his entire rookie season. He missed the final 3 games of the 2017 season. Obviously, he missed the playoff runs and ultimately did not play in the Super Bowl, which Foles ended up playing in. And in total, he missed 5 games in 2018. So that comes down to 8 starts, 8 regular season starts, and we'll, obviously the playoffs are not included in this. 8 regular season starts out of 4 total seasons. And you're going to tell me that he misses so much time. Well, you know what? He misses so much time because when he's on the field, he brings us to the playoffs and puts us in the position to win. So why not? I don't know. Get him the players that he needs to win. Get him those players that are going to take us over the top. Get us better protection for him on the field. Beef up that line. If you were going to do something in the second round that wasn't a wide receiver, take a stud lineman. How about that?
Defense to shorten the field.
Literally
anything. They got a backup.
Anything. Get me a starter, because people are like, well, second rounders, they're not. Who is really going to start there? What position? No. You know what? Listen. Here's the deal. Second round picks in this day and age are drafted to challenge the field for starting time. That is what they are drafted for. Just because you're used to the screw-ups of the J.J. Arcega-Whitesides in this time, that's not the normal.
Yeah, you got Miles Sanders last year with your second round pick.
You've gotten Zach Ertz with a second round pick before. Like, that's the standard of what a second round pick should be.
Yeah.
Somebody that is going to challenge for starting time.
Yeah. And in this case, that's like the worst case scenario is that Jalen Hurts challenges for starting time. You know what I mean? And we're watching some Jalen Reagor tape too, by the way. I love this kid. I really do. I don't want to get this. We're watching right now, Keith. We're watching the Deshaun Jackson run back. And I mean, this kid explodes on tape. It's the one thing I said, even draft night. My only complaint was I don't like where they took him. But if he hits like I think he can hit, no one in 2 years is gonna say, oh well, we picked him too early, because he could be a potential superstar if he pans out this way. I will say that his ceiling is through the roof. But
he does what he's supposed to.
Again,
we regret nothing.
And for me, my gripe is especially knowing Jalen Reagor is my second round pick. I mean, Jalen Hurts is my second round pick. By the way, stay tuned all season. I'm going to screw that up. My thing is, instead of getting the quarterback, you could have just. you gotta load up. And as far as
Denzel Mims was there. That would have been a good receiver to go through
for
there.
Rager's case, it's not that I didn't want Rager. It's that I would have rather moved up and gotten CD Lamb, who he's gonna burn us twice a year minimum now. Or I would have traded back and gotten Jalen Rager, and used that extra pick to probably get Jalen Hurts and not reach for my first two picks. So again, and then it goes back to this you're saying it's a quarterback factory, or you need all the Jalen Hurts defenses are terrible. You needed a backup. Well, you need a backup. This guy's a project. He's not going to be a backup now. So you're either going to have to roll with Nate Sudfeld, or you're admitting that you're not comfortable with Nate Sudfeld, and you're going to have to roll with a project quarterback with no preseason, might I add. He's not going to have any preseason games. There's not going to be any of that this year. You're going to have to roll with him as your backup. Now, do you dress only two quarterbacks knowing that Jalen Hurts is your second? You might even have to draft three quarterbacks. Nate Sudfeld being the third, or Nate Sudfeld might not make this team. It's clear as day that they're not sold on him.
Yeah, you wouldn't draft a quarterback in the second round if you're really
or I'm misreading all of this and they're not sold on Wentz, Keith, in which case we got real issues.
I think that
I don't buy into this theory. I don't buy into it
either. I don't buy into it either, but I did, again, do the research because I've been this passionate about this second round pick that I legitimately had to look at every single angle, because I don't believe the Adam Schefter, they drafted him because they were concerned about the COVID-19 and what happens if he gets it. Because, by the way, if Carson Wentz gets COVID-19, there's probably other people on the team who are probably going to have COVID-19.
Like, they're shutting down football.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Like, yeah, it's like, it's borderline asinine. If it wasn't Shefty saying it, I would say it's asinine.
I did do the research on his contract, because let's be honest here, he got given a massive contract, right? So I looked at it. They are absolutely huge. So he signed through 2024. You have, of course, the huge hit of about, I think this year it's actually pretty manageable. His dead cap hit is going to be a little bit heftier because of the bonuses. So you're not cutting bait this year, because like his dead cap will be like $77 million, which is absurd, but it's how they worked it. So he actually has a smaller salary this year. But you do have a potential out in year 2022. 2022, you end up getting still a dead cap hit of $24 million, but you get out of the rest of his yearly hits of 22, 20, and 21 million. So you have a couple of years if you want to look at that. I don't think they really want to do that. I don't think that even if they're not sold on him, that's really what the situation is. And you don't have a with Carson Wentz, because Doug Peterson talked about how he had the conversation with Carson Wentz, like, hey, listen, if he's there, we're taking him. Just want to let you know, you're our guy. You are always going to be our guy. He had that conversation, even said it on the air. So I don't buy that either.
Where was that burned Philadelphia before, Keith? Paul Pierce? Ringing any bells? Larry Brown said it to what's the skid mark's name? I can't remember it now. Larry Hughes? Was that the guy's name?
Yeah.
Oh, how am I remembering this? Before I even had hair.
I don't. I mean, if he promised Jalen Hurts something, that'd be a little bit weird. And that would be unfortunate too. But he did promise Carson Wentz he's our guy. But I guess promising people is not a good business to do in sports. Because it's just not, because you had to flip that on set. But if Carson Wentz somehow is not our guy, I think we're in a little bit bigger trouble than just that. Then, Carson Wentz is the guy, we're moving on to the next one. That means Howie, we already have issue with, and we think that he doesn't really make great decisions. It means Howie really dove in on this and went, I guess we're going to give him a contract. I guess he's the guy. I guess we're going to waste all this draft capital, trade up and get him in the draft. That's where I'm more at, and I don't believe it for a second though, because I think Carson Wentz is that guy. I think Carson Wentz will be healthy. I think Carson Wentz will be shutting his haters up this year yet again. Because guess what? You look at last year, he did that. He performed all year and actually performed better than he ever has. And he was definitely up in the conversation of potential people to be in that MVP talk. I just don't see. That's why I think that ultimately, like Jalen Hurts being here, not that I have a problem with him. I think he's a future NFL starter. I think he's very talented young man. You could have picked pretty much any other position on the board, and it would have made more of an impact this year than Jalen Hurts will.
And we got a comment from Chris in chat. I think they're just worried about Wentz staying healthy since he obviously has problems staying on the field, especially with the 17-game season. Again, if that's their line of thinking, I still can poke a hole in it. Then you don't sign him to that huge contract. Then you had 2 years more to do it. You still could have let this season play out. You could have franchised him next year. You did not have to give Carson Wentz this huge contract. So if that's the thing, the Eagles are still wrong. This is why this pick is driving everyone nuts. Anyone that can see through it is going bonkers because there's no right way. Every way you try to spin it, it's wrong. So yeah, if that's the case, and again, Chris, I'm not saying you were defending it. And I'm really glad that you pointed that out. Like, I'm glad you played that role in chat. That was beautiful. But yeah, again, if that's their line of thinking, it's still wrong. And if that's their line of thinking, then sign Jameis Winston, then sign Cam Newton, then sign my boy Marcus Mariota before he goes to the Raiders, then sign. There were so many quarterbacks out there. Teddy Bridgewater, like the list goes on. Taysom Hill was an undrafted free agent. Taysom Hill wasn't a second-round draft pick. For everyone that thinks that.
I brought up the Patriots earlier.
You do love Mariota. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Notice what the Patriots didn't do this year and had the opportunity to do.
They didn't take Jameis Winston. They didn't take Cam Newton. They didn't take Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No. I was just going to with Jalen Hurts.
I was hoping I left you one. I'm sorry, Keith.
No. I was just going to with the Jalen Hurts. They didn't pick Jalen Hurts, and they had multiple opportunities to. They decided to stack up everywhere else. And they lost a pretty big name. Maybe you heard of this guy, Tom Brady. They lost him. So, yeah, I think maybe they might have needed a quarterback, but they're sticking with Brian Hoyer, or maybe they will sign Cam Newton when it comes down to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll see. And again, that's all those names is really why, it's like that pick was just befuddling every way you slice. And I have to finish with this. This is not a personal vendetta against Jalen Hurts. Out of a quarterback class of quarterbacks I didn't like many of, he was one of three that I think might pan out. So yeah, I just, it is what it is, man. But I every way you slice it, this pick was the Eagles outsmarting themselves. And hey, we'll see. That's, you know what I mean? And it's we got no sports right now, so all of us want to overreact positively or negatively, right? It's all we got going for us. But we'll see. I know Belichick is a genius, but I don't see them being very good offensively. No idea what he's thinking there at QB. Keith, I agree. I don't think they're a playoff team this year without a quarterback.
Murph's onto something there.
I think that they could have gotten any of the lists of players that we have named throughout today's show, and they probably would have been better.
I think they ultimately do sign Cam Newton just because he's floating out there.
Wentz fan, so they take off the field in the stretcher. Yeah, I heard that. I still might be a fan one more time if they take him off the field in the stretcher. But yeah, in my opinion, look, this whole Wentz can't stay healthy, Keith, you nailed it right at the beginning of your little diatribe about him. Rookie season, 16 for 16, game started. Not his fault that the Eagles didn't make the playoffs. So, and then his next year, he's an MVP until he goes down.
Freak injury.
It's like this whole thing that he can't play a season is just absurd. And again, like the injury prone thing would it would have weight to it if he hurt. Like say now let's get dark, and I don't want to do it, but like this is how Carson Wentz is injury prone because he's not as of yet. If Carson Wentz gets a back injury this year, or if Carson Wentz gets a lower body injury, with re-injures one of his leg that he hurt. Really, they're the only two ways that he becomes injury prone. Because as of right now, it was a rib, it was a knee, it was a head. Like nothing has been connected.
No,
and all of them have been freakish injuries, other than the back, which we don't know how it happened. So again, I don't want to you've heard me be critical on the Eagles many times tonight. I'm not just sitting here waving pom-poms for everything that they do. I just think that when I see Carson Wentz, Keith, ever since we started doing the stuff for him with Philly Influencer and Radio Bucks before we drafted him, I immediately went from I don't like any quarterbacks in this draft to Carson Wentz as a franchise quarterback. I've never flipped on a quarterback faster after doing a little bit of research. But seeing everything from this guy, I still believe in him, and it's not because of this long found it's not because I want to be right or anything. It's just at the end of the day, I see everything. I see size, I see speed, I see arm strength, I see leadership ability, if that's a word. So
he's definitely got it. He checks all the boxes you want from a quarterback, and that's the important thing. And guess what? He's been available. I've already talked about it. 8 regular season games that he's missed in 4 years. 8. I mean, that's 2 games a year if you really want to spread it out that way.
It's still too many for a quarterback, though. I will say that. I can't excuse
it. It is, but you got to figure 2 of those are complete seasons. 2 of them are complete seasons.
And again, that's why I think people can spin false narrative into the ether so much that it becomes true. He's injury prone. He's not injury prone. Like when you actually look at the facts, he's not injury prone. So yes, while he has gotten injured and banged up, like most football players do, let's not remember Tom Brady had an ACL. Aaron Rodgers missed a season, or am I making that up?
No, I
feel like Aaron Rodgers had a big injury. He missed time last year.
I missed last year.
So I mean, even the best quarterbacks miss time. Now, I'm giving people this little bit. If this year he hurts his back or he hurts his leg, then we got to start thinking. But I don't see that happening. I see a guy. Look, we saw big improvements just from start to finish of the year last year with Carson Wentz's footwork and his mobility in the pocket. And now that he's going to have some speed and some receivers that he prefers to throw to, that's my guy. I'll take that. So, it's gonna be a fun, it's gonna be an interesting situation. I think it's gonna make me lose a little bit of hair. And it's gonna make some things turn gray as people can continue with this Wentz's injury prone, and it's like it brought back the Folesian Society in a different way. So
I just found a weird website trying to find out about that Aaron Rodgers injuries. There's a sportsinjurypredictor.com.
Oh no, a Deadpool?
Basically. And they got Carson Wentz at 39.8.
Ah, frig. I don't know.
That's not the worst though.
I don't know what that means, but frig.
He's middle of the road as far as starting quarterbacks go. The worst one is Josh Allen at 51.7%. That's like flipping a coin, and more times than not, he comes up injured.
Murph saying, yes, last year quarterback situation was a nightmare once Wentz went down. But again, look at every team in the NFL. That's how things usually go. I understand Nick Foles happened. I get it. It's right friggin' here. I keep the book as close as I can. I'm not a religious man, but this is my Bible. I keep it very close, right next to my TV, the only other most important thing in the room.
Yeah, it's very true. He does.
I know Nick Foles happened. You can see it. It's right there. It's in the corner of the war room. I know Nick Foles happened, but by that logic, then let's take a quarterback in the 7th round because you can get the best quarterback of all time in the 7th round because Tom Brady, blah, 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 blah. Like, you can't just go off of the exception to the rule. So yes, I get it, but you can't do this whole notion that like you need a backup quarterback as a football team. It's a luxury. I get that. But you don't spend 2nd-round picks on luxuries. You spend them on players that are going to help contribute immediately.
Yeah, pretty much. We can keep beating this down.
I do. I'm like, it feels like we're going on and on. I agree. Bad pick in the 2nd round, but you can't have a 42-year-old loser and hope you're as good as a team as we have. I agree, which is again Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, Marcus Mariota. Like there were so many quarterbacks. Jameis Winston signed for 1.1. He's not making 7-8 million. That's what you paid Foles when he was here. No disrespect to Foles. Jameis Winston at this point in his career is better than Nick Foles at this point in Nick Foles' career.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is an important position. Even all that being said, I mean, we still almost won that playoff game with Josh McCown, and he had a tour in, what was it, like MCL or something like that in the middle of the game. Like, so I get it. I do. I fully get it. But, dude, no, I'm good. 2nd-round pick was too much for me. And, again, I'm going to say it again. I like Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to be a good player. Thankfully, we have a lot of other good things that we're looking at here. We're looking at a lot of other wide receivers. We're still going to have some fun whenever sports does resume, and we're going to be able to have those training camps. We're going to be able to see those players mature. That will be nice. That's when things will feel probably a little less fresh, a little less hurtful.
Winston is another train wreck. That's from chat. Hey, look, everyone knows I've been a very big Jameis Winston hater, but as a backup quarterback, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'll take Jameis Winston as a backup quarterback. Tell him to sit the bleep down and chill out. Figure his life out for a hot second. Yeah, I take that all day. Marcus Mariota was my number 1 choice for backup. But by the way, I think I'm going to have to be a low-key Chargers fan this year. They're going to have Tyrod Taylor, quarterback out of Virginia Tech, and Oregon. Justin Herbert. I got the Oregon and the Virginia Tech. That's the old double dip right there. But yeah.
You do enjoy that.
Again, the whole Winston is a train wreck thing. I don't disagree with that. I love him for 1.1 million as my backup to come in an emergency situation and win me a game or two when he's gonna at that point be playing for his livelihood, just like Nick Foles. Yeah, I take that. Hell yeah, I take that. Because what motivates a sports athlete more than anything? Money.
All right, thanks for tuning in, Murph. We appreciate that. we love you too, and we love Wentz as well.
Got to get the crazy 2-year-old. Isn't that the terrific twos? Aren't they always the best at 2? Isn't that what it is? Murph, stay safe. And yeah, take care of them youngings. Hope you guys aren't going too nuts over there in the household. But yeah, thanks. We appreciate everyone tuning in for as long or short as they can. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Keith?
No, I was just saying I was saying the same things to Murph, pretty much. That's all I was saying.
Terrific. That's what they call it. So yeah, getting into it. That's loud. I just pooped a little. Sorry, chat. I'm gonna bring up. Keith didn't hear it, but chat did. Get a little Wallace love. Just start showing some pics that we did like. Just cool.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I'm not in the room with you because if you pooped yourself, it's gonna smell.
It's a little dinky in here. It's-
You know,
oh,
kind of like to get into like the tail end of the draft, the draft talk.
there's some
Yes,
tail end
Wallace
over
is
here right
one that
now.
we. Wallace is definitely one that we all definitely liked. I mentioned I like Driscoll. I like Prince Tego Wanago. I like those picks a lot. And who doesn't like a good local boy? Sean Bradley, linebacker from Temple.
I don't. I don't like either of the linebackers they took this year. I'm sorry. I see the same exact thing out of. Here's the one thing: I like taking a project in the sixth round. I like taking it then much more than I do in the third round. But both of those guys, I see a lot of the same in big time speed. If I can start off positive, but they're too big and slow to play safety, and they're too small to play linebacker. And I don't think that Jim Schwartz, like, again, it reeks of we're the smartest people in the room. Jim Schwartz thinks he's going to reinvent like defense by putting this hybrid linebacker safety out there, and Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman think whatever they're thinking with offense right now, and getting Jalen Hurts in the second round. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong many a time before, but it reeks of trying to be the smartest people in the room. This pick, Kayvon Wallace. I love the pick. Last time the Eagles took, maybe not last time, but one of the times, because they did take Watkins from
Jalen Watkins.
Clemson too. I think he was. I think he was
He
from
was a corner
Clemson.
though.
Okay, he wasn't. He played safety in the NFL out of
Yeah,
just
at a
being
certain point,
bad.
yeah.
But yeah, last time we got one from Clemson, Brian Dawkins, arguably one of, if not the greatest safety to ever play the game. Yeah, I like his pedigree. But no, and not only just that, because that would be like saying I like Derek Barnett because he broke Reggie White's record. Just we're watching the tape right now. The kid's a monster. He gets
Yeah.
all over the field. He's got size. He's got speed. He's got physicality, which is sort of a dying breed. I think Philadelphia is going to like this pick, and it definitely I'm excited for that. This secondary this year is going to be interesting, for lack of a better term. It could be for better or worse, but this this secondary, specifically your safeties, are completely reworked because, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. We haven't really gotten too far into it. What do you think of keeping Rodney McLeod and letting Malcolm Jenkins go to probably the best team in the NFC, the Saints, back
I
to the
mean,
Saints?
I'm of the thought that I think there was an untenable situation with Malcolm and Howie. I think that is part of the issue. I think that there was no discount because I don't think that the price that he signed for with the Saints, I don't think that was on the table for the Eagles. I don't think that was at all on the table for the Eagles. So, in a nutshell, let's just say none of that is true, right? Let's just say that maybe it could have been worked out. I think it would have been for a lot more money, and at that point, you can't improve your team, you can't improve your defense because you're just signing uh, Malcolm Jenkins back, and you needed to be able to do something at corner, and you knew you needed to spend money there. I think it's easier to take a risk on a safety and find a good safety than it is to find a good corner. And I think that since that money was spent on Slay, ultimately I'm okay with it. Yes, it hurts because Malcolm Jenkins, great locker room guy, great leader, great community member. He is going to be a Hall of Famer. So it is very difficult to replicate that production. But ultimately, I think it was a necessary sacrifice.
Yeah, see, and that's where I differ. Look, Rodney McLeod, you get him 2 years, 12 million. Malcolm Jenkins signs for 4 years, 32 million. Um,
I don't think that price was on the board. I don't think we were ever getting that price.
it sh- it should have been, and
Well, you already know what he wanted because he wanted to be paid like one of the highest safeties in the league. And I don't think he was going to. I think that was a middle finger to Howie Roseman for not giving him what he wants and taking a cut to go to the Saints, who are in direct competition with the Eagles. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I don't know that it's that. I think I think that's Malcolm Jenkins going, this is the best I can get, and he took it. And that's still a pretty damn good deal for, a player his age. And I just think the Eagles.
We could have gotten that.
I think the Eagles just they're doing what they're doing. They're potentially outsmarting themselves, or they're looking at it that they're going, well, Rodney McLeod, we've seen what he can do when healthy, although when healthy, Roman Quinn, and you're gonna see, like they're looking at this from an economical standpoint, and I hope they're right. But in my opinion, this is the next coming of Brian Dawkins. This is, you let Dawkins go because you thought you could do it better without him. You're letting Jenkins go because you could do. Jenkins isn't the Hall of Famer that Brian Dawkins was. He's not the greatest Eagles safety to ever play the game, or potentially one of the greatest safeties. But I think you even said that you think Malcolm Jenkins is a Hall of Famer. And even just to that,
I think he is.
I'm not arguing it, by the way. That's just, again, one more reason that I think they're wrong here. As an Eagles fan, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're right. I did like Rodney McLeod. He's kind of on my he can't play anymore board with Corey Clement.
I agree with you. I don't really
and Deshaun Jackson.
want him.
Sorry.
I know that one hurts. That one hurts. But I didn't really want Rodney McLeod back. I wish he could be the one that was gone and that we could get Malcolm Jenkins back. I do wish that he could have been on the team, because I think in a perfect world, and I don't think this would have happened, because again, I think cap space would have been an issue. In a perfect world, you end up with McLeod and Slay, and if that means you don't get Hargrave, so be it. I'm okay with that. I would have preferred that personally. I get what the theory is. You get a defensive tackle, you get your defensive line enough help, and then you're going to make your secondary better because you're not going to give the quarterback enough time. I get that. I still would have preferred to have the money put on to Malcolm Jenkins as opposed to any of the other situations. Because if you get Slay, you get Malcolm Jenkins, you have a pretty damn good secondary at that point. That's how I feel. Hell, I'll even take Jalen Mills back as the second corner at that point. I'm okay with that situation. And then you end up pushing, ideally, Maddox and LeBlanc as your third and fourth. Whoever does that, I feel great with that situation. That to me would have been a better situation, and I would have taken whoever you wanted to do as far as your defensive tackles, Malik Jackson and Fletcher Cox being your starting two, and then having whoever you want in the rotation behind them. Yes, I will agree with you. That would have been way better of a situation, and you are going to miss Malcolm Jenkins. You are. I mean, you can't get around that situation. I just feel like, again, we weren't going to get a good deal. He took what the best thing on the board was, because he wasn't going to go to the Eagles and take that offer from the Eagles, because they gave him, I think, a promise last year they were going to pay him, and then broke that promise.
Yeah, and we even got in chat from Joe Hunter. That was an in-house problem. It's only time can reveal that story now, and we still got a little bit of Wallace tape going on in the background. I just put him back on. We're talking some secondary.
I mean, if you look at the goodbye letter, he says goodbye to literally everybody in the organization except for Howie.
Yeah, well, look.
That's just,
Joe Banner was that guy when he was here too. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes the general manager is going to be the unpopular guy, and that it is what it is. Part of me wants that in a general manager. You know what I mean? When it's working, at least. Right now, I can't say that with Howie, but
I don't blame you.
So
I am upset that we don't have him, so I don't blame you on that.
Keith, any I guess, like, what's next for this Eagles team? Because the draft happened. As far as, like, positions of need, or like what's on Keith's board? Like, what would you like? Like, there's there's still a lot of needs. Where do you think is this it? Like, what do you think is next for this team?
I mean, you still have a lot of questions you're going to have to answer. We got to see if our offensive line is going to hold up at this point because you have an unproven left tackle in this upcoming year. I mean, granted,
Can,
four games, we like what we saw,
can I stop you real
but
quick?
yeah, go ahead.
What is this whole? Where is this like Andre Dillard can't play rumor coming from all of a sudden?
There were some rumors before the draft that he wasn't the best person in the locker room, that he was immature at times. There was things that came out, rumors before the draft, which sounded like, to me, there was some people talking about him. I don't know if it actually came from the team. That's the thing. So that I think that's where a lot of people are focusing on. I don't, for the record, really put much stock in that. I felt like in the 4 games that he played, I liked what I saw, and I would like to see, much like Miles Sanders had a good season. I just want to see him build upon what he did last year and continue forward.
Yeah, people are being like, well, Jason Peters started over him in the playoffs, so they must not feel safe about it. It's like, well,
Jason
Jason,
Peters is a Hall of Famer.
and he was getting paid a lot. Not that that should matter, but like Jason Peters' job was to groom him into this year. Again, like you, from what I saw from him in game and on tape, it looked good. I don't have I mean, I don't have I have questions because he's a second year player, but this whole like notion that we need a left tackle is like a little far fetched to me. I've been wrong before.
I don't think that.
We
I
need
think,
we need some backups for damn sure.
and that's I'm hoping one of these guys that we drafted in the draft is going to be a nice backup guard, because we've had Brandon Brooks who's had injury issues. We've had Sayamalu, who nobody's really thrilled with.
Yeah, like,
You need a center at some point, because Jason Kelsey's getting up there, and you're going to need to replace him at some point. You're hoping these wide receivers pan out, because you're going to need 2 of them to really pan out, because Deshaun Jackson is what, 33, 34 years old. You have Alshon Jeffrey, who's 30 and injury prone. So you're going to need to rework that. And a rat. And a rat.
we got an
So
infestation.
you did get younger at safety because you lost, Malcolm Jenkins. All right. Your corners are relatively young. Okay. Your defensive line isn't old, but isn't young. So it's kind of still a reasonably old team. So this year you retooled a little bit. You're going to have to continue on that trend. You really got to hope that 3, 4 of these players from this draft are successes, because you just can't have the one player as a success type draft that you've had in the past. You can't afford it, because if that happens, your team's going to fall apart. It's going to fall apart. And ultimately, you need that first round pick. You need Jalen Reagor to hit. You need one of those tackles to hit. You need Kayvon Wallace to hit. Like, you need something like that to occur, or else you're going to find yourself in real serious trouble.
Yeah, I agree. And you're talking about these guys that we need to hit, and I've just been, as you've been breaking it down, I've just been showing some tape, playing producer tonight, just showing some tape. Right now, we were watching Quez, a couple big plays, and now we're watching Hightower. And yeah,
Quez could be big in the return game this year.
I think that Reagor has a lot of potential there as well. And Greg was talking about this. Greg and I were talking, and he was like, he doesn't want Reagor to be a part of your return game. And to an extent, I can see that, especially if these guys behind him, and Hightower and or Quez, can step up. Because they're both highly suited. We're watching Hightower just ran one back as I'm talking about it. So yeah, if that's the case, sure. But if I need to just get my first round pick, the ball in his hands, I'm letting him have his Deshaun Jackson moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that. I feel like, though, that we have the depth, the possibility of that happening. We have so much possibility that we traded for Goodwin, and Goodwin may not even make the team. Like that's the crazy thing that just happened. I don't care. Whatever needs to happen, that you have a few people that you acquired over the weekend make this team and rework this wide receiver for, that will go a long way to make me feel better about this team.
Yeah, yeah, and that's ultimately, look, getting the wide receiver core solidified, getting that offensive line solidified. For me, I personally, I wanted to see a little bit of running back, kind of be a 1-2 between for Sanders, because look, I like Boston Scott, but Boston Scott's my third guy. Boston Scott's my extra guy, and it seems like they're gonna have him be the 1-2, and hope I hope that works out. But we'll see. A guy that small. I'm gonna look up the free agent running backs currently.
Yeah, I mean, you got some people out there still, like you said.
I know Devontae Freeman was out there. LaShawn McCoy, Lamar Miller, Jonathan Williams, Spencer Ware. You want a little shady D-Jack reunion?
I'll take it.
No, you can't do that, Keith. Come on.
It's a third running back at that point. I'll take it.
Nah, he couldn't even dress as a third running back for the Chiefs.
For the Super Bowl, I know he was a scratch.
Yeah, Shady's trash. Like, I love Shady. He's one of my favorites of all time, but the dude is done. Deshaun Jackson's done. Like, I'm gonna get his friend, just his friend too. Like, come on.
Like a party on the sideline. That'll be great.
That'd be great. So I'm looking running backs here. Let's see who else. Devonta Freeman. What about our old friend Kenyon Barner?
He's not always.
Keith, I'm gonna mention a name. It might sound like a joke, but I'm actually serious. Frank Gore.
He's timeless.
He's free. Why not bring in your LeGarrette Blount?
Hey, listen. He is that guy that literally plays all the time. He plays effectively. He's great for the young guys to work with because he just shows you what a true professional is like. And hey, we can finally say that Frank Gore is actually an Eagle.
Yeah. So I mean, and look, there's some names on this list. Like I'm not saying that any of these are MVPs, but keep in mind I'm talking about a second running back here. Devontae Booker, Theo Reddick, Carlos Hyde, Lamar Miller. Mention Williams, Spencer Ware, Isaiah Crowell, Powell, Ty Montgomery, CJ Prosise, Marshawn Lynch, Chris Thompson, Wendell Smallwood.
Smallwood, no impact, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that to me, like, that to me screams we don't need to bring in Corey Clement, yet they signed Corey Clement back. And between him and Scott, it screams now that you have to still bring in, you're going to dress 4 running backs, which I'm sort of okay with. But
no, in all likelihood, this is probably our running back core.
So it's weak. Look, it's not a durable backfield when you have Boston Scott and Corey Clement. I like Sanders, obviously, but it really could. Look, Frank Gore is sliding in there. Sounds really good though, right? You put Frank Gore into that, and you're like, all right, well, I got kind of a workhorse. That, like, obviously, he's not going to be a workhorse at 37, but he showed last year. He played all year, right? I'm not missing something.
No, he played.
Yeah, like, the dude's durable. You know what you're going to get at him. You can't run him 20 times a game, but 5'10"? Isn't that really what you need here when you give Boston Scott probably 5'10", and you give Sanders the rest?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm a friggin' genius. Put me in, Howie.
Quality control coach.
So, I mean, that's personally where I go. While I got the list up, is there any other free agents that you would like me to look into? Any positions that you would like me to dive into, Keith? While I got it all up in front of me.
I think I'm pretty much in the. I want to see what we just got in draft. I want to see where we go with this. That's kind of my mindset at this point. I'm 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 kind of gonna wait and see to see if we even have a season. So that's also part of where I'm at. As dicey as that sounds.
I think.
So
God.
I think we will have one, but it's always in the back of the head there that you got to think about that. So
Yeah, I think the NFL is probably in the safest of bets because they can like really push back. They can wait until November even if they have to, you know. So I would all but guarantee. Maybe this is like arrogance or whatever, but I think people have seen how conservative I played most things with this situation. I would all but guarantee if there's one sport we're gonna get, it's the NFL. Um, and potentially even like at almost full normalcy, um, depending on how quick we can clean things up. But yeah, I would say that the NFL has probably got the best shot for like a full go as far as the four majors. Look, I'm not talking golf, NASCAR, and like esports, or wrestling and shit like that. But uh, yeah, as far as football goes, I wouldn't. Yeah, and then going off of that, the only other real position that like like I'm concerned about a lot, but my next big thing. Greg and I got into this a little bit on Monday. What do you do at cornerback two? You got a lot of moving parts back there at that safety, that secondary between like who's going to be playing safety and nickel um, there's talent back there at the secondary, but when you look at specifically who might play that second cornerback spot, it to me it's a weakness. And
I think that, and I kind of got into this a little bit. I think you're just going to see a competition of what's there. I mean, I don't mind what's happening, I guess, because I do like Maddox. I do like LeBlanc. Ideally, I would have preferred them to be third corners. Jalen Mills was somebody who I liked as a second corner. I know a lot of people didn't like that opinion, but I think what you have, I mean, whatever you see on this roster right now, I think is your roster. I don't think you see a single person added to this roster except for maybe as a training camp body. That's about it. I think you're looking at what you got. You're going to compete with what you have and maybe make a trade during the season. But I think Howie's already done what he's going to do at this point. And I think you're going to see ultimately Maddox as your slot corner because I know they like him, but he's just a little too short for my feelings, my opinion. I think Cravon's probably your guy who's on the outside. I could be wrong though because we've seen Maddox. He is a competitor. He will go out there and try his absolute hardest. So I think he might ultimately be your second guy, but I would prefer if he was your slot guy and somebody else was on the outside.
yeah, sticking to that. Just gonna start reading off some names. Um, Brandon Carr. I'm gonna give you some good and bads. Brandon Carr being one of the bads. But yeah, you can yes or no me if you want. Prince Amukamara, 31. Darquez Denard, 28. Let's see. Jonathan Joseph, he's 36. It's way washed up.
Yeah.
Josh Robinson.
No.
Aqib Talib. Eli Apple.
Talib's so old, but maybe.
Again, cornerback two we're talking about. And these are all guys that are still free agents. So you can take a real cheap flyer on them. These are guys that you could say, I'm coming into camp. You're not guaranteed anything. Your contract incentives. Compete. Just like everybody else that's already in here. And you're just bringing in an extra body for low risk.
I guess you could at that point. I guess bring in Talib.
In my opinion, any of these guys are mostly doable. A couple of them I'm just throwing in there so you can say no, and just so I'm not like. But I mean, there's some names out here. Again, Eli Apple's 25. I take a flyer on that. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. Maybe even bring him back. There's people out there that's potential. So and even just looking at safeties. What about Kurt Coleman? You want to bring Kurt Coleman back, Keith?
I am quite good without Kurt Coleman ever touching this field again.
What about on the serious Eric Reed?
He's a little bit older.
28.
He's a little bit of a problem maker.
28.
Yeah.
I would take a flyer. Again, these are guys that I'm not saying I'm giving them the house, right? I'm saying maybe I'm misjudging the situation, but I would assume that anybody still a free agent you can get on a team-friendly deal. If I'm wrong, someone call me an idiot. It's not the first time I've heard it. We can move on.
Body, go ahead.
What's that?
Body. As it camp bodies, go ahead. Add whoever you want.
So, in my opinion, these are all guys that are worth taking just a little bit of a shot. A little bit. That's the next targeted area, in my opinion. If you're going to beef up your lines on either end, I'm always down for that. And your secondary has to be addressed. Maybe a linebacker, again, camp bodies we're talking. But yeah, as far as big moves, Keith, you're more than likely in the right. Outside of maybe a air quotes training camp trade, a virtual camp trade, something like that right before the season, I don't think we're going to get anything too major. I still hold hopes for Alshon Jeffrey being moved, even if it's just getting cut. I don't like that cancer being on your team. It's sort of a bad look if he's not the cancer, and maybe we had the situation played wrong the whole time. Cool, I'm great with it because I did used to like Alshon Jeffrey. I just think that not only can he not play, his mouth is the fastest part of his body at this point, and it's behind this. Like when it was T.O., he did it. Like, he came out and said it, but like someone that talks to reporters behind my back, especially about a quarterback, man, that's I'm not about that life. Not about. I get warmer thoughts about Freddie Mitchell at this point, and Alshon Jeffrey won me a Super Bowl, so that's tough. It really is tough. I personally don't think I've ever flip flopped on a player quite like I did Alshon Jeffrey. That's a guy whose back I had after he lost a playoff game. Remember that. I stuck up for an asshole that dropped the ball. I was like, nah, that's my guy. I'll go to war for him. Now, I put him in the war. I put him in his Operation Human Shield.
Solid place for
him. Freddie makes a good steak sandwich. Freddie at least can make a good steak sandwich, apparently. But moving into the final thoughts, dare I call it the 2-minute warning? Keith, I had that thought today. Do we want to change the final? Well, you know how most people have like these discussions off air. Keith and we're just gonna do it on air. Thinking about changing the final thoughts to the 2-minute warning, even though it won't be 2 minutes. We'll still go on for like 15 minutes long as of me.
Well, we do like being misleading on a lot of things. So
or crunch time. You know, bottom of the ninth.
I like it.
So we're in crunch time right now. So yeah, if anybody's got any final thoughts or anything, if we missed anything, sports or non-sports, now's the time to bring it. Once again, I will make my shameless plug. If you have Amazon Prime, you don't have let me start over. Take 2 and action. If you have Amazon Prime and you haven't yet linked your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, did you know that you're currently giving Jeff Bezos money that you could be giving Keith and I? A quasi-quadrillion billionaire is getting $249 a month that we could be getting. But yeah, so it's real easy. You link your accounts and you can give us a free sub or give it to anybody. I have several suggestions on who to give it to other than us. Honestly, I just love seeing that people use their Twitch Prime, their Amazon Prime to link their Twitch Prime. And as long as they're doing that, I get excited because I'm like, Jeff Bezos isn't getting that money. It's and more importantly, streamers or like an organization like ESA or GDQ, that does a lot of good, and most of the time that sub is given to charity. They're out there, and in my opinion, it's the easiest way to give back to streamers or people that are that are hard at work and busting it. So yeah, real simple. And in fact, all you got to do is go over to War Room Philly, Facebook.com/War Room Philly, and there's a little like screenshot tutorial by the wonderful and lovely Jay Ziggy. She put up and how to do it. So yeah, or by all means, bust out that credit card, and you can give it to us in one of three ways. If you're feeling real big baller and you want that orange and black, that fusion orange and black, it's Flyers, we know. You gotta bust it out, and it's $25, which I would never do, but I'm hoping to one day get some tier 3 subs. Was that bad, Keith? You're shaking your head. You're like you're demoting your own product, you idiot.
Pretty much.
Hey, there's a reason why I made that orange and black on the 25 though. That one's fire, and you're gonna have to bust it out to get it. You want the Flyers colors? You want the one that this one right here in chat?
Joe Hess never comes back. He's gonna complain.
Oh yeah. So and right now these are the emotes and these are the order of things. We can rotate them at any time. I think it's like every 15 subs we get, we'll get more emotes. So you guys as a community can all help yourselves by helping us. And hey, there's all kinds of maybe we can get a gritty emote, some cheesesteaks. We'll get some Philly things to spam in chat for everyone. So yeah, we got all kinds, and then we got our boy Jeff in the background who's been throwing us all kinds of ideas too. Yeah. Which is awesome. That's why Jeff's the best. If anybody ever needs any graphic work done, get in touch with me. I'll put you in touch with them. It's Brotherly Love United on Instagram. That's the easiest way to do it. But if for whatever reason you can't find him, get at me. I will make sure you get in touch with him. Dude is fantastic. Not only that, I mean, Keith, you've given me artwork. I got down in my living room of the Spider-Man and Star Wars things that he's done.
Like, see if I have something readily available.
He's top tier. He's top tier on all of it. Yeah. Once again, just a little final thoughts and just an extra shout out to Jeff for really just making this all come true. When we first did the logo, we're like, oh man, we're gonna do this logo, and hopefully one day we can. Oh yeah, and that's the crayon one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is all crayon art, just to get a little closer look at it.
I think I can even give you. Hold on, Keith. I think I got away. Oh, we made you full screen. We're so professional, chat.
But yeah, that's what Jeff has made me before. I have other things, but this is probably my favorite thing. It's nice. It's on canvas.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
So that was done in like all melted crayon wax, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's all textured and everything. This is the real deal, my friends. And,
the process, the process of that is fascinating to me. I would almost say it would probably be like almost like therapeutic to watch someone do that, like to like drip like melted wax. I was saying, you probably didn't hear me. I was like, I would almost imagine that like watching someone make that, like dripping the melted wax onto the canvas would almost be like therapeutic.
I would imagine so. But
I'm gonna Google like watching videos of people do that and just it's so relaxing.
That's pretty much. My final thought's just gonna piggyback on all that. Thank you, Jeff, for making the emotes for us. Please subscribe to us. Please, help us out, not Jeff Bezos out. That's kind of what I'm gonna go on. And damn, now I really need a Jim's cheesesteak because you talk about those Jim's. You talk about those.
Yeah, and it's they're not open right now either.
I know.
I got Jim's delivered once while this was all going down, and I will always be eternally grateful for that. So while it was over Jamie's house, I got Jim's delivered once, and it was It was glorious. Look, it wasn't as good, obviously, because it was delivered. But
Do what you got.
not having to go and deal with those lines that are usually there to get at gyms was pretty clutch. Oregon Steaks, yeah, I've heard Oregon Steak. I'm gonna have to try that out. I still have yet to try Oregon's, and the big one that I really want to try is Delisandro's.
Alessandro's.
Is still I haven't tried Delisandro's.
I think we'll have to do a War Room taste sesh.
Yeah, once it's clear to go and travel the world, Keith, we'll travel Philadelphia.
I like it.
Have you ever had Phillips?
I've not.
That's another good one. Phillips reminds me of when I used to like Geno's. Phillips is like what Geno's. When Geno's was good, that's what Phillips is now.
All right.
So I like
I'm a Jim's and Steve's guy.
Gino or Phillips is Passyunk. I think they're at the 21st and Passyunk. I think. Joe Hunter can help me out in chat. My dad. He's the one that I know it about. But yeah, there's some good cheesesteak spots all around. And while I can, for our North Carolina folk, the Ziggy's in North Carolina, Asheville. Look,
yeah,
I am not spitting smoke when I say it's up there. It's better, in my opinion, better than Tony Luke's, Geno's, or Pat's. Like in my opinion, all three of those places are trailer trash. Like they're garbage. They're not trailer trash. They're tourist trash. Is what I meant to say. The trailer trash. No, they're in my opinion, those three are like the tourist traps. Is what I meant to call them, and I called them trash.
So, that's what I'm here for your correction.
But yeah, yeah, they used to be good. I'm not gonna lie. I liked all three of those back in the day, but I'm just not a fan anymore. But now that I'm making myself hungry, it's about ice cream o'clock.
It is ice cream. I have ice cream to get to, which is I'm getting antsy. I'm like, I want ice cream.
He's like, you friggin', it's 2 minutes. See, that's why we gotta call it the 2-minute warning, because it's gonna go on for like 7 minutes.
I actually legitimately have Dairy Cream ice cream. I'm about to punish myself. So
let's go, chat. All right. Well, with that, thank you guys. Much love to everyone in chat. Again, thank you for the last couple of weeks where this show has kind of gone again, and we've been picking up some momentum with the drafts, and we're gonna look to just continue that, and bridge the gap to normalcy, if you will. Although with this show, it's never normal, right? So with that, again, guys, thank you all so much. If you can contribute in any way, follow, turn notifications on, subscribe, whether you're watching live or on demand. Our YouTube viewers, you guys have been killing it, by the way. Our one video that we did, Keith, on draft day, over 500 views. It's been through the roof. We're still getting comments on it. If you guys want, interact with us through the YouTube videos. I answer every comment just like it's Facebook. We are here to interact with you guys. If we're not live, we'll still do it. I promise you. Get on it. YouTube War Room Philly. It's not a / yet, but if you YouTube War Room Philly, you should be able to find us or get in touch with me. I'll shoot you a link. We need subscribers on that one. We need it on the Twitch as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you follow us on twitch.tv/warroomphilly. Flip it if you're watching us on Twitch. And again, everyone on Facebook, Instagram, the whole nine. Just follow War Room Philly everywhere that you can do it. And if you're watching right now, live or on demand, it means the world to both Keith and I. Anything else, Keith?
That's it.
Well then, on that note, I am Anthony Pinto.
I'm Keith Malashevsky.
And we are out of here.